Welcome back, and we are making very good progress as we're getting you started with the CLA396 course. I appreciate your putting up with these rather dry introductory videos as we get you oriented. We now need to talk about the textbooks that you need to have for this course. Now, I want to emphasize that the textbooks I'm about to show you are translations of ancient Roman works in English, obviously. And you can, in fact, use other translations besides the ones I'm going to show you. But you should make sure that you do have access to translations. And please make sure that you order the textbooks as early as possible before the beginning of the course, because you're going to need to read the text as you go through the course in order to be able to complete the course requirements. So these texts are listed for you on page 1 of your syllabus. I would like to suggest that you please pause your video and please open your syllabus. You can get it off of resources, and you can also get it off the page of Sakai for the syllabus itself. So please pause your video and open the syllabus. Okay, do you have that? Okay, I'm going to list the textbooks for you and show them to you in the order of the that they are needed in the course by chronological order of the authors. So the first one that you have is the translation of the poems by the first author, whose name is Catullus. Now, Catullus has a series of almost 120 poems. The poem that you're going to read in this text is poem number 64. I will get out the page so you can see where this is. Obviously, in order to be able to benefit from this, you're going to have to get this particular translation. This is the Penguin translation by Peter Wigham, and the poem itself begins on page 140, and it's poem number 64. You may see a reference to Carmen or Carmina. Carmen is the singular word for a poem, and Carmina is the plural. So you're going to be reading Carmen, C-A-R-M-E-N, Carmen number 64, which is right here. Okay, beginning on page 140 of the of this particular translation. And this particular poem is 20 pages long, and it goes out to page 160. Okay, so it ends over here. So it's pages 140 to 160 of the Penguin translation by Peter Wigham. Okay, so that's Catullus. The next textbook is Livy. Livy has an enormous history that is over 100 books long. No, we're not going to read all of it. But Livy does have the very beginning of his history, book number 1. There we are, 1. And that is all about the very early history of Rome, the 7 kings. So in this book, you're going to read book 1. There actually are 5 books altogether, but the only part you need to read for the course is book 1 on the ancient Roman kings. This is also a Penguin translation. We then have Ovid's Heroides. There are 2 works of Ovid that we're going to be reading. Ovid is our third poet. Ovid, O-V-I-D. This is called the Heroides. The Heroides are a series of letters that are written by mythological women, basically criticizing the mythological men or heroes in their lives for various misdeeds committed against them by those men. It's quite remarkable because we don't have very many examples of the sort of the feminist side to Roman writing in which the women are given something like of a voice. I'm going to tell you exactly which ones you're going to read here, so pay very close attention to this part of the video. So first of all, you're going to read the first of the Heroides, which is Penelope to Ulysses. I will show it to you here. Penelope to Ulysses. This is poem number 1, and it begins here. Okay, so this is Penelope writing to Odysseus when you read it in Greek literature, or Ulysses, his Roman name. The next one that you're going to read is number 4, which is Phaedra to her stepson Hippolytus. The 2 of them ended up having an incestuous relationship that she thought was a real relationship and which he rejected. So she wrote a letter accordingly. This is based on a tragedy by Euripides named Hippolytus. So there's this one, and if you're using this translation, the Penguin translation, this is on page 28. Then, of course, a really important one, number 7, is Dido to Aeneas. I won't say more for now because you're going to hear all about Dido when you read Virgil's Aeneid. So this is on page 56, and this is poem number 7. Then we have Deianira to Hercules. Hercules invaded a city and brought home to Deianira a mistress. Her name was Iole. Deianira did not take kindly to this, and her reaction is rather amusing in a very dark way, because she would eventually inadvertently kill her husband Hercules by sending him a robe cloaked with the poisoned blood of a dead centaur who had promised her that it was a love potion. It didn't work out very well. So there's this poem. This is poem number 9 of the Heroides, and in the Penguin translation, it's on page 76. Immediately after that, number 10 is Ariadne to Theseus. Ariadne is the woman who assisted Theseus to go through the labyrinth to kill Ariadne's half-brother, the Minotaur. When Theseus was sailing home from Crete to Athens after dispatching the Minotaur in the labyrinth on Crete, he took with him Ariadne. She was the daughter of King Minos, and therefore had betrayed her father, not to mention her half-brother, whom she'd helped get killed. Unfortunately, Theseus turned out to be a betrayer of his own in his own right, because he abandoned Ariadne on the way home on an island, and Ariadne had to be rescued by the god Bacchus, or Dionysus in Greek literature, Greek mythology. So this is her response from her deserted island to Theseus. So this is number 10, and it's on page 89 in the Penguin translation. And the final one, the really fun one, is Medea to Jason. Jason abandons the witch Medea for a Corinthian princess. The two of them already have 2 children. This does not work out well at all. All you have to do is read either Euripides has played Medea or Seneca has played Medea to find out what happens. But this is the last of the 6 letters, and this is on page 103 of the Penguin translation, and it's number 12 of the Heroides. Okay, so there's Ovid's Heroides. Next, we have Virgil's Aeneid, and this is the Copley translation, although there are quite a few other translations you're welcome to use as well. And this translation has the full 12 books of Virgil's Aeneid, and you will be reading all of it. This is the story of the foundation of the colony within which Rome would later be founded by the Trojan refugee Aeneas, the son of the Roman goddess Venus. Next, after your midterm exam, you will have Ovid's Metamorphoses. This is 15 books long of the creation myth of mankind and the eventual foundation of the Roman Republic and then the Empire. And Ovid is the other great early imperial writer who actually ended up going into exile, as it turns out. But he did write this really magnificent compilation of Greek and Near Eastern myths that he puts together into this wonderful creation story of Rome. You will be reading the entirety of this and doing some special projects on it. So this is Ovid's Metamorphoses. This particular edition is from Indiana University, and the translator is Humphreys. You, however, could use any other translation you prefer. We then have the work of Petronius. This is the Arrowsmith translation, and this is Petronius' Satyricon, which is a fragmentary work about a man who is struck impotent by the god Priapus for sins that we do not know, because they do not survive in the work as we have surviving. There's a wonderful dinner party scene, however, that hopefully you will enjoy in this work. So this is Petronius' Satyricon, and in this Penguin translation, you have also Seneca's work called Apocalyptosis, or pumpkinification. That's what that long name means. So this has Petronius and Seneca in it. And then finally, you have an optional work, but one that I hope you will take seriously and read for yourself. This is the work by Apuleius, who is a North African writer of the 2nd century AD, and it's called The Golden Ass, or the Metamorphoses. And just as the narrator of Petronius' Satyricon is in trouble with a god, this character Lucius is in trouble getting turned into a donkey from the hands of a witch. And so he has to go through a rather long process to get himself turned back into a human again, and he becomes a devotee of the goddess Isis at the end. This has a wonderful depiction of the myth of Cupid and Psyche, and I hope you'll definitely pay attention to this, even though this is at the end of the course and not included on your final exam. So those are your 8 textbooks. So again, please make sure that you do get those. But again, if you do need to use other translations, if you have a hard time obtaining those particular books, other translations are available online as well as in other books, and those would be perfectly acceptable. All right, so we've gotten you through the Sakai workshop as well as the syllabus, and now we've talked about textbooks. And now I'm going to give you full information in our next video, the last of these introductory ones, all about the exams. So this is the 5th and final video at last coming up on exams, and then we'll be able to finally get into some cool stuff about Roman myth, which is, of course, what you're in this course for. All right, so come on right back, and we will talk about the midterm and final exams of Classics 396.